everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Orange Zeppelin, and today we are taking a look at another Art Snacks video, and I gotta tell you already, I have definitely looked through the box extensively already. I didn't do a very good job of putting everything back together and making it look like it was being freshly opened on camera, but my mom and I were taking a look at this box, and to be honest, I think it's a little bit of an odd assortment. Maybe not. Maybe once we start testing things out, it's not going to be so weird. But first off, we've got some oil pastels, which I think that's pretty cool. Let's bust these suckers open. And these colors, to me, I like the assortment. It says Ireland to me, which I do really like oil pastels, especially nice smeary oil pastels. And they're describing, well, they describe it as having a creamy texture. So I'm hoping this is going to be nice and smeary. It does have like a good... Not really gooey. Gooey isn't quite the word we're looking for. But, so our oil pastels, I'm definitely happy with those. The next thing we have, though, and this got me a little scared. I'm gonna be honest, and I know this seems weird to be concerned about our blending stumps. They do say for our art alternatives blending stumps, we could use our fingers to blend the new oil pastels, but these blending stumps are great for finer details and small areas. So my hair's standing on end just thinking about this, because what this reminds me of is in my college beginning drawing class when we were working with Conte crayon. The sensation of the very, very dry Conte crayon on the very dry paper and my bare skin touching the paper and all the dry. And I'm just imagining like our dry papery stumps rubbing against an oil pastel on the paper is... It's kind of giving me the prickly wicklies to think about. If you've ever just licked a wooden spoon with nothing on it, just if you haven't done that before, go ahead and pause the video and go find a wooden spoon, and I want you to lick it. Go ahead, I'll wait. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It is a dry sensation, so that's what I'm a little bit concerned about here. Otherwise, these are really good for working with graphite, which I don't know why I don't feel like blending graphite with these is weird at all, and why I'm expecting the oil pastels to be completely weird. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We'll find out. Last but not least, we have a Plumchester paint marker, and I thought we have gotten one of these in a previous box. But I'm starting to think maybe not. It looks like this was a pen from a previous box, and I thought maybe it was the same brand. It's a different brand. The paint marker, this I think will be interesting to work with. This is, actually it is an Art Snacks exclusive. This is filled with acrylic paint, so fast drying, opaque, and permanent. And they do note, use this underneath your oil pastels, not layered on top. So we're going to have to find out what happens when you do it the wrong way. And that's it for our box. Actually, no, it's not. That is not it for the box at all. Because we have our sticker. And also we got a watermelon warhead, which I like warheads quite a bit. I always like that we get warheads out of these Art Snacks box. But this is what I'm going to be working with. So I'm not quite sure what we're gonna do with it just yet, but let's do some swatching first. Okay, so I am gonna use this paper that I used on, actually it was our previous Art Snacks art video. This came out of, this actually came from Art Snacks. I think it was part of a paper sale, and it also, there was a bunch of like mini papers I got. to go with it. These are super fun to experiment on. But I think this is going to be a good paper to use. It is reasonably thick, so I think our paint marker will handle this paper very well, and it's also very smooth, so I will hopefully find that the blending with her paper stump on our oil isn't going to be a super weird texture. Watch it be just like the most normal thing in the world, and I'm making a big fuss about absolutely nothing. But I am going to start with our paper, with our paint marker. Let's see, we need to shake with the cap in place. We're doing a nib pump. All right. I might need to shake it just a little bit more. Okay, so that might be ready. And that's a nice color, actually. Let's see, how well does this work for a larger surface? I really like that. It's not going on very streaky at all. That is actually a really nice, solid coverage. I like that. Yeah, that would really be nice for a kind of a base background, maybe. I don't know what weird lumpy forms I'm creating. Maybe this is some turf and some grass. I'm kind of thinking grass here. Been inspired by how green the area has been lately, because we had a ton of rain that has really revitalized our very dry and sad looking hillsides and made everything very pretty. So maybe that is going to be my inspiration for today's piece. But that's very nice and pleasant and texturally comfortable. Let's see. Okay, maybe before we start getting into here, we're going to take a look at these oil pastels. Let's see. Oh yeah, that has a really smooth texture. Let's see what happens when I smear it with my fingies. This might actually not be as unpleasantly dry of an experience as I was expecting. I might be just being dramatic over here. So yeah, you can get a lot of different texture just from changing your pressure, like a nice harder pressure versus like a lighter touch gives you a little more of that paper texture. Let's see. Yeah, I'll be able to do some pretty interesting stuff with that. Now my fingers are going to get very, very oily. This paper isn't just... It's not uncomfortable to be rubbing your fingers on it. I just remember what I was working with in that one drawing class. Just dry and rough and unpleasant texture. It kind of reminded me of... Oh my goodness. In the first grade, when we would do our handwriting and spelling practice, we'd be sitting on this very low pile, dry, uncomfortable carpet, and we'd be working on our extremely dry little chalkboards with our very dry chalk, and you're trying to wipe the chalk dust off your hands on this very dry, low pile carpet, and it was just a whole lot of unpleasant dryness. So maybe that's what my whole problem was in that art class. I was having flashbacks to first grade lettering practice. Let's see how well we can blend this. I'm kind of starting to get an idea here on what I can do. This is kind of giving us what could be a skin texture or skin tone. Let's blend that together. Also, let's just like get it over with and try blending this. don't feel like my skin is trying to crawl off my body, but that sound... Actually, you know what? I have an idea. I am not thinking about things correctly. Give me 1 second. Okay, I actually wanted to grab some of my paint thinner, but my mineral oil was closer at hand. So first I want to try... I'm going to go ahead and see what happens. We're just going to very lightly dip into this. This might not work out. Let's see. Let's see what happens. Is anything exciting happening? I don't know. Maybe. Okay, maybe we're actually getting some blending. I'm gonna use one of these paper sticks for our oil pastels. I'll keep them with my other oil stuff, and then I'll save one of those for graphite because I don't remember if I have any graphites, what am I trying to say here? I don't know if I have any of those suckers available for my pencil related stuff. Okay, so this wasn't agonizing. I was absolutely just making a big deal over nothing. Look at that. That noise is, it's a little bit of a scratchy noise, but yeah, that's not bad at all. And I feel like we can get some decent color blending going on. I definitely like the pastels. They do blend very nicely. Maybe I should dig my paint thinner out. I would have to... The sound actually is kind of making my hair stand on end here, but... Enough whining. Let's see if we can make some... Let's come up with a good idea for a art piece to do with this. So I'm going to do a little bit of brainstorming, and then I will be right back. Alright, I am back. I did some sketching. I ate some black licorice, and I think I've got myself a plan. And I also don't think this is nearly as odd of a assortment as I thought it was initially. This actually... Once I got an idea, everything came together. You see the colors that I got for these oil pastels. This is exactly the color of Ho-Oh, one of my favorite legendary Pokemon. So the answer was right there. I just had to see it. I am going to cheat a little. I am going to do some line art a little bit. I'm just going to... I've got this idea for maybe like a pagoda in the background, a tiny bit of black lines on Ho-Oh itself. I'm gonna try not to be as dependent on black outlines as I usually am. I'm kind of thinking, I was kind of thinking maybe this could be my lines, and then I could go over, let's see, would that work? I see no reason why it wouldn't. Let's just do a little bit of experimentation. Actually, maybe my green could be... My green could be where my line art happens. That could be my line art. I mean, maybe a little bit of... I was thinking a little bit of the yellow for the highlights, because I think this would be a really cool sunset... I could make a really cool sunset gradient in the background. I also, specifically, because the menu here told us, don't layer your marker on top of your pastels, I had to do exactly that. And I think here it worked pretty well because this is just blended out quite a bit. But I went over the thicker oil, and that looks okay. I think the danger of layering over the oils, and I think what they're advising us not to do this for, is the possibility that your brush tip could just get dirty. It could just get a bunch of oil crud on it. So if you are going to layer on top of your oil pastels, it would probably be a good idea just to like scribble on a scratch piece of paper to get it cleaned off. I did also switch from the mineral oil to actual paint thinner, and I think that should work better. I actually did crawl under my desk to find my paint thinner. That should work a lot better. And I already have exact same paper that we're testing out on cut out, so let's make some art. Okay, so at this point, I think I have a couple different options for how I can proceed with the actual oils. I think what I want to do, I want to start with the yellow because that is a good light color. I think that'll make a good base. I'm probably going to color the whole background, and then I'm going to be coloring in any feathers that need to be in this particular shade, and then maybe instead of going into the other colors, maybe, because I might actually do the whole background first now that I'm thinking about it. Then I might go in with these guys here because I think I'm going to be using this paint marker on some of these trees that I'm going to have in the background, but I'm also, like I said, we're going to cheat a little and we're going to use some solid black. I'm going to do that with the pagoda and probably a few of the trees in the background also. And just like a little bit on Ho-Oh, not a lot. I don't want to completely overdo it, and I do think it would be better, just like the guide said, we're going to put these down first and then go pastel on top. So let's just see how this works out. All right, am I finished? I think I might be finished. I do have, you'll see there, I didn't realize until just now, there's a little bit of mess on the borders, and what I'm going to try to do, that might actually be working. Hold on. This might actually be working. I'm going to use this sand eraser to try to get some of this extra crud off of my border. I didn't realize I was making a big old mess. But we might be able to clean this up. I think this is working. All right. So I did find in some cases the combination of the pastel and the blending stick, you got a little bit of that dry, uncomfortable, prickly wickly inducing feeling. Mostly it was just the sound, but it's not that bad if you just use some paint thinner. I think that's really the best way to use that. If you use a little bit too much paint thinner, you might find the textures a little bit too smeary. But I'm kind of making a mess here. This is actually just like a lot of messy things all on one paper. But I think if you were to combine these maybe on a larger piece of paper, just so you had a little more room, that might be easier to work with. I was trying not to be too line art dependent. I feel like sometimes I get a little messy when I'm not focusing on line art, but that's just an indication that I need to practice doing that more often. And I do kind of think, I have some erasure crumblies. I feel like maybe I've got some muddiness going on between my yellow and my orange. I actually, considering how I only kind of knew what I was doing here, I actually kind of like how that turned out. So you know what? I think I want to call that good. How do I'm gonna go ahead and sign it with this. Why not? And you know what? We are gonna call that good. I actually would really like to do more work with oil pastels because it is a fun media. I tend to just use them for loose sketches and planning, and I haven't done enough work with them just as full pieces. So I think this is a good excuse to do more work with them. So there is our beautiful finished piece of Ho-Oh, who's not good. Okay, there we go. He doesn't even stay flat when he's on my shelf. He's definitely not staying upright on a tilted desk. But anyway, that concludes our review of Art Snacks. What is this, April? The April box. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment. Comment if you guys actually used this box and if you also got prickly wicklies from the combination of the oil and the paper stick thing. And until next time, keep making art.